Good day, my name is Sharon Visser, and this is my story. Every continent of the world has stories of dragons. Wherever these mystical beasts live, these ancient legends endow dragons with great power, life-changing power. In some cultures they are creative and protective, and in others all-consuming and destructive. They reflect the fears and aspirations of the storytellers and the times they lived in. The dragon I speak about is a metaphor that represents the joint response of the people doing the work to the leader's influence on their behavior. Every organization has a dragon. Every organization can use lean thinking to harness it. Like dragons, the people doing the work have the power to create or destroy. They too reflect the fears and aspirations of their storytellers. The storytellers are you, the leaders. You guide the power of the dragon and what it can accomplish. In 2013, lean thinking became part of my life, and with it, I could write about a dragon in my care. This dragon lived in a remote part of Africa, wedged between the Kalahari Desert and the Okavango Delta, a remote Toyota dealership operating in a challenging environment. Plagued with a lack of skills, constant power failures, water shortages. Yes, this can happen next to a delta. Distance from suppliers, high ambient temperatures and challenging road conditions. Botswana has a population of only 2.2 million people, of which a large portion live on the eastern side of the country, closer to the bigger towns and capital city. Only 10% of the population have enough income to get a bank loan to purchase a vehicle. The Global Competitiveness Report for 2013-14 showed Botswana's poor work ethic as the most problematic factor for doing business in the country. Lean thinking overcame all these challenges and provided us with improvements that were beyond anything we could have envisaged. I believe that if we can do this, so can you. Your organization may not have the same challenges, but Africa is not the only place in the world with extreme weather, lack of skills, or problems to solve. I am showing financial figures to you to bring legitimacy to what I'm communicating, not because one can compare your situation to my situation, but to communicate our progress as a measurement of change. These are our monthly comparisons between 2013 and 2015. Turnover 10.6 million in 2013 and 16.7 million in 2015. Profit 1.8 million in 2013 and 3.8 million in 2015. Available cash in the business 13 million in 2013 and 34 million in 2015. Financial gain is a way of measuring, but it is only one side of a story. For me, the real profit came as I began to work with engaged employees as their confidence grew and their self-worth improved. I don't know how to put a value on this other than priceless. Many people have asked me, how did I get people to change? In my book, Lean Houses for Dragons, I write about my journey. But in a nutshell, I did not change my employees. I changed myself. When I changed how I responded to problems, they changed. I only changed when I learned to reflect on my response to my fears. I only changed when I realized that I had to. Lean just gave me a guideline on how to achieve this, using lean thinking and tools. I cannot tell you how to engage your employees, but I can tell you that lean thinking will provide you with the tools. Lean thinking made such a big difference in our life. It became a puzzle, even an obsession with me, as to why It works for some and not for others. Why some love it and why some hate it. The common response I hear is that lean only works in Japan or in manufacturing. It will not work in our environment. It's all about getting rid of people. It's controlling. It stunts creativity. The list is endless. One has to ask why people feel this way about lean. It can't be about money. There is substantial improvement financially in lean organizations. So what is it? What is left? The only thing I can think of is fear of lean itself. I wanted to understand my own fears and where they came from. So I looked up fear on Psychology Today. It says that there are only 5 basic fears, out of which almost all of our other so-called fears are manufactured. These are extinction, the fear of annihilation, of ceasing to exist. This is a more fundamental way to express it than just fear of death. Mutilation, the fear of losing any part of our precious bodily structure. The thought of having our body's boundaries invaded, or losing the integrity of any organ, body part, or natural function. Loss of autonomy, the fear of being immobilized, paralyzed, restricted, overwhelmed, entrapped, imprisoned, smothered, or otherwise controlled by circumstances beyond our control. Separation, the fear of abandonment, rejection, and a loss of connectedness, of becoming a non-person, not wanted, respected, or valued by anyone else. Ego death, the fear of humiliation, shame, or any other mechanism of profound self-disapproval that threatens the loss of integrity of the self. The fear of a shattering or disintegration of one's constructed sense of lovability, capability, and worthiness. Reading this made me understand myself so much better, as I had most certainly felt some of those feelings. After reading this, I decided to take fears into a theoretical workspace and see what could happen if we applied them to a lean transformation. Let's take a simple statement at a company meeting. Everyone attends, as they seldom see the CEO, so it must be really important. Thoughts of redundancies start to come to mind. The CEO stands up and informs them that as part of the company's strategy for 2022, we are going to embrace lean thinking as part of the way we do business. A hand goes up. What is lean thinking? The CEO responds. It is a management system used by Toyota based on removing waste. The diligent hand goes back to his desk after the meeting and logs into Google and asks, what are the wastes of lean? He looks at the list and asks himself how his job is going to be impacted. He finds some uncomfortable thoughts. When he gets back to his desk, fear starts to rise with his misunderstanding of waste. He fears extinction, losing his job. Maybe his job will be considered as waste. Mutilation. Maybe the years of service given will no longer be respected. Loss of autonomy. Will he be micromanaged by lean systems looking for waste? Separation. If he fails, will he be cut from the group? Death of ego. Will he no longer be the hero worker admired by all? What if he can't do it and makes a fool of himself? So how does he respond to his feelings of fear? He shares it with his co-workers, who also become fearful of change, each responding differently according to their own translation of what will happen and how it impacts their fears. The senior management go to their desks and ask themselves the same questions and come back with different but similar answers, all fear-based. The most dominant fear being death of ego. What if I can't do this? What if I lose control? What if I look foolish? How will I lead? If I can't lead, I will lose my job. my status, and my promotion. He looks at the list again and asks himself how his job is going to be impacted. What will happen when all the waste is removed? At the start of the lean transformation, the lean tools start to reveal waste in all its ugliness. This ugliness stoke the fires of fear. When this starts to happen, the transformation is in a fragile place and open to the interpretations of the senior management. How they respond is vital, as this is where failure starts. It starts with the unaddressed fears of the consequences of seeing the true situation. A fear of the truth. The first response is often that lean has caused the problems. But the truth is that the problems were always there. They were just covered in the waste of work in progress or excess stock. The fearful will shout loudly that lean does not work, and compromises start to appear. Like, let's not use it in all the departments. Let's just use it where people are comfortable. When this starts to happen, a slow erosion of lean starts to happen, as all the departments are part of a whole. Let's now go back to the beginning where it all started to go wrong. What if we could find a leader who, before he or she announced the new strategy, would think very carefully about his or her own fears and recognize that they have them and consciously decide to act with courage? The list would be a good place to start. I'm not talking about a short-lived courage like the flame of a match in a dark cave, but a choice to be a constant light like a lighthouse beacon. Once they have made this commitment to themselves, then they call in their management team to address their fears so that everyone understands their lighthouse role. This would be keeping their teams from floundering on the rocks and guiding them on lean journeys by providing them with the tools, the support, and a safe place to fail and learn. Lean thinking will then do the work by creating better days at work for all. In turn, the KPIs will improve. The improved profits and cash flow will allow the organization to grow because lean thinking has developed the people doing the work to solve problems and design innovative solutions, in turn providing the key resource for growth, human resource and skills. To accomplish this, one would need to learn to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. This takes courage, and courage is the first requirement for growth as a team and as a person. We need to recognize that we are never too well educated or experienced to learn something new about ourselves and those around us. Being comfortable with the uncomfortable reminds me of the story Rabbi Abraham Twersky tells of the lobster. A lobster is a soft, mushy animal that lives in a rigid shell. The shell does not expand, so how does a lobster grow? A lobster grows inside the shell, and the shell starts to become very uncomfortable and confining. Eventually, the lobster feels so much pressure it goes under a rock to protect itself from danger and sheds its old shell and grows a new one. The lobster understands that being uncomfortable is a signal that he is growing. He probably looks forward to the renewal of his shell and is grateful to get some legs back. Was he afraid of the growth process? Probably. He did hide under a rock, so he was most certainly afraid of cod and haddock. When you and your team have addressed the fear factor and committed to becoming a lighthouse for others, once you and your team have recognized that the revealing nature of lean is uncomfortable and that being comfortable with the uncomfortable is all part of growth as a lean leader, you will then start to travel down the road of continuous improvement by embracing problems as opportunities to improve, experiments as a way to innovate, and failure as an opportunity to reflect and learn. The ultimate goal of lean thinking is to develop problem solvers in all levels of the organization who become adept at recognizing ways to improve the work by removing waste. But before you start to develop problem solvers, you will need to design your organization's lean house. Part of this will be the value-driven purpose. As often happens, it is in the beginning of a process that we set ourselves up to fail. Think carefully about this value statement, as your entire team needs to understand it and believe in it. It has to be an authentic statement. You and your management team have to believe in it and be prepared to courageously stand by it. As when your team start to learn how to solve problems, all their countermeasures are weighed against the statement. If the countermeasure fails to align with the statement, the countermeasure should not be implemented. If you are not authentic in your response, it will quickly be noticed and the erosion of lean will already have begun. This is as serious for the organization as Anubis weighing the hearts of the dead souls. A lean mentor or coach will assist a great deal with the design of the house and the understanding of the 5 dimensions. But the identification of the value-driven purpose belongs to you and your team. If your team try to align to an unauthentic purpose, lean thinking will not work. You may wonder why I mention courage so often. It's not because I don't think people are courageous. It's because I know that people are. The seeds of courage lie in all of us. When we show courage, we lead the way for others to follow. When we fail and get up and brush ourselves off, we encourage others to understand that it is possible to get up after failing. When we turn and lift others up when they have failed, it encourages them to turn around and giving a helping hand to those behind them. I believe that times they are changing. The companies that people will want to engage with, both as employees and customers, are going to have to work very hard at being authentic. In the words of Steve Jobs, the most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation that is to come. As I said, you write the story. May you write it with courage.